Hi, everybody, and welcome to Habitat Office Half Hour. Um, my name is Kaya Tolliver. I am Devrel here at Chef Progress, and I am here with my colleagues Matt Rock and Raul. Um, let's go around and do some introductions. Matt, why don't you start?
Sure. Yeah, I'm a software developer on the Habitat team. I've been working on Habitat, I don't know, a while, like 5 years ish. um, and uh, Historically, I've focused on the Windows side, but lately I've been kind of all over the place. But yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome. How about you, Raul? Go
Hey
introduce
guys,
yourself.
I'm Rahul. I'm the engineering manager for Habitat team, and I've joined Chef and Progress 6 months back. So I'm pretty much a newcomer at this stage, um, and I'm really enjoying working with the team and basically understanding the ecosystem. And I'm really truly impressed with all that which we have in our product from a Hab perspective.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. So you're new like me. I've probably been here for about 3 months now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So and look, Matt's the vet of the stream.
Seems
I
like
have the
that.
scars to prove it.
Oh yeah. Where are you all based out of? I'm here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. I'm in Southern California.
Hmm.
I am
Okay.
based out of Austin, Texas.
Oh, cool. Sounds good. So all different time zones here.
Yep.
Great. So today, let's get into the meat and potatoes. Let's talk about what we're gonna go over today. We're going over some very interesting topics. One, we're going to talk about the habitat plan refresh. And lastly, we're going to talk about there are new event feeds. Just kind of let's get into the meat and potatoes. I've got some slides. I'm going to present, I'm going to share my screen, and you guys are going to just tell us about what's going on in habitat land, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Cool. Let's get started. Okay, let me get my lit. Hold on, I've got to put my screen on the right place. So let's go. Oops. Okay. Boom. Share. All right. Cool. So, our topics of the day. We're talking about new beta packages, event feed builder, habitat core plans refresh, and then we're going to open up for some questions. If anybody has questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We are on YouTube and Twitch as well for this. So please put your questions in the chat. Also, feel free to hit us up on community Slack if that is easier for you. I will be monitoring community Slack um, for questions. So take it away, Matt, Raul. Which one of you guys are going to start?
Yeah, we
I
can
guess.
we can
Oh,
start. Go ahead. Go ahead, Matt.
I, well, are we going to be going in order of the agenda here? Are we talking about, or does it matter? If we because I'm talking about the refresh. So if we want to, we can forward to the refresh, and I can talk about that.
Okay. Well, looks like our
Or
slides are going in the direction of the event feed first.
okay, yeah, then maybe
So,
Rahul can start
so
on it.
then let's go with you. Let's start with you, Raul.
Okay. Thank you, Kia. So we're talking about event feed in Habitat Builder. So basically, to give a background, we have been working from last few months to develop this particular functionality in our App Builder ecosystem. And so, so what is event feeds all about, right? So basically, in Builder, we have an ability to promote, demote packages, and all of those uh, would trigger events which are being persisted as event logs. And that is what we are calling as event feed. So basically, those logs will be we will have an ability to display those logs in our Habitat Builder UI. There are two sets of events which will be generated, one for the on-prem builder and the other for our public SaaS builder. Internally, what we have done is we have created a new API which basically holds all those events and then talks to the database and basically gives those events to the calling applications, right? Um, the builder events from SaaS instance can also be accessed in the on-prem environment through the same API call. We also have given ability to configure which type of events have to be shown at the on-prem instance, right? So basically, the on-prem instance can be configured to show the events from the on-prem itself, or from SaaS, or from both. And we are controlling them through various feature flags, various configuration elements which we have injected into our system. And this is a screenshot of how this feature will look like. Basically, we have a page here. We'll have a link in our navigation bar, which will basically take us to this page. This page will show us what was the action which was done for which package, and then basically a few more details. And it will basically have a list of all those based on the settings which we have configured, right? Um, yeah, so that's basically in a nutshell what Event Feed is all about. And it is currently available in beta as a feature, and it's currently toggled off, but at one point of time we do plan to basically turn it on um, through our feature flags.
Okay. So, quick question, just for clarification. So, the feature itself, you said, is currently hidden and is hidden behind a feature flag. Is there like a certain, is there like a go live date where it's going to be out, or are we still kind of, is that still pending?
Well, I think and I would have really wished Trevor was here, but I think we have been in discussions with some customers to pilot this out, and I think that is going on. And once we finalize a go live date, we will definitely broadcast in different channels. We will basically publicize it in our community, and definitely that's going to happen.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for that. All right. So, let's get to our next slide. Oh, now you're up, Matt. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Raul, for that.
Um,
Mm.
so let's see. Was it this week? I guess it was. Monday seems so long ago. Monday we launched our core plans package refresh. So
Oh, wow.
that's been in the making for quite a while. Honestly, I think we all feel like it's been in the making for too long. um, but what matters is that it's out now. So what that means is that basically all of the everything that we have in our Habitat core plans has been updated to the latest or nearly the latest. Of course, uh, we had to do some validation at the end. So if packages were updated upstream um, in the last few weeks, those will make the next refresh. So like a good example is glibc. Glibc, I think we released 2.33, and I think quite recently they posted 2.34. So you're getting 2.33, 2.34 will be next time. So So anyways, yeah, so that was so everything in core plans now should be up to date, and they've all been built together. So what that means is that um, higher level plans that have dependency, for example, glibc, again, great example. Just about every single Linux plan uh, depends, if not directly, uh, it depends indirectly on glibc, and as a transitive dependency. So what that means is that when we push out a new version of glibc, we have to rebuild. We have to rebuild everything, and so everything's been rebuilt against that. Against the set, in a very specific order. So we have to determine, what all the plans are, what all their dependencies are, and order them in such a way. And sometimes, kind of do a rebuild, recycle. We have some instances where we have actual circular dependencies. So, for example, GCC and glibc is a good example there. Some weirdness there, but in the end, what we have now is the complete bundle. I think so. These slides here, I think these were produced. I think this was covered in the last session, which I wasn't part
Right.
of, but I think I pretty much covered what we have, at least on this slide right here.
Cool. I'll move on to the next. Yes, that is
Yeah.
like our last Habitat office hours was preparing everyone for this. And now we're just kind of basically talking about, it's happened because we were doing the prep and we were like, so, overarching question was, okay, so when is this going to happen? And now it has happened.
It has that. Yeah, we can answer that question with absolute certainty.
Certainly.
It will happen last Monday or this Monday.
Right.
Monday.
Exactly.
So before we go too much deeper, we have a couple of questions from our viewers. Do you mind taking a few? I will put them up. So Cesar asks, let me see if I can show it here. Do base plans work for Cloud Foundry or Habitat, or is Habitat in CF possible?
That is a good question. It's a little outside of my domain knowledge. I know that for a time we had an actual exporter for Cloud Foundry. It really comes down. I mean, what we're talking about here comes down to like platform and architecture. So Linux, Windows, not necessarily cloud-based platform, but OS level platform. Right now we're 64-bit, architecture only for Windows and Linux, and we also support the older kernel 2, Linux kernel 2, for a lot of our Linux packages as well.
Okay. Cool. So also from Romaine has a question. Habitat artifacts should be usable in different platforms. Their support for that was the answer. Actually, that's the answer to
Yep.
Cesar's question. It seems like. However, I'm not sure whether.
Okay, yeah. Self, but
Yep. Well, thank you, Romaine, for answering that question. Awesome. So okay, let's continue. Why
oh
did
yeah.
refresh?
So well, so I mean, basically the simple answer is people want the latest packages, not just because they have new features, though that's certainly a valid reason, but also they contain security patches. That's probably the number one, at least at the enterprise level, reason to update. So yeah, those are the main reasons. Get it all.
Next slide.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
How does this affect us?
So So yeah, so once you're using the updated core base plans, your plans are depending on updated core base plans. So everything, right? So things must be rebuilt. So if you have your own like my company slash my application package, then that has a dependency on glibc. If you rebuild that package, that's now going to pull in the latest glibc. So currently, like if glibc is the only I'm just going to pick on glibc because that's the easiest one to pick on. The only dependency of your package, you're fine today. It'll continue to run. Next time you build it, it'll build against the latest glibc. For the most part, that should, depending on what you're, unless you're doing something fairly cryptic, that should just work. There are, some packages are going to introduce, just by the very nature of change, some things that you may have to change in your plans. I know we came across some, intricate, some small little things for some packages that depend on glibc and GCC. I forget what they are off the top of my head, but just whenever something changes or is updated, you always have the possibility of something needing to be adjusted upstream. But let's say my company slash my application has a dependency on my company slash my library, um, and my company slash my library has a dependency on glibc, and you go to rebuild the higher level application. So you go to build my company slash my application, which has two dependencies: a dependency on my company slash my library, and on glibc. And so if you haven't built the my library package that also has a dependency on glibc, what's going to happen is you're going to get a version conflict, because when you do the build, because you have a direct dependency on glibc, you're going to pull down the latency. And then because you haven't rebuilt your library, is you're going to pull down the latest version of that library, which was built previously against the older version of glibc. So it's also going to pull in that older version of glibc. You've got two versions of glibc, and that just can't happen. So so be aware of that case. So obviously the fix for that scenario is you need to rebuild everything, your entire stack,
Like based on a hierarchy.
upwards that depend on the application.
So real quick, so that means then does everyone need to go and just build all the core plans first and then
So we've
build
already built we've built the core plans for you. So you shouldn't have to build. So like all the core plans have been built. They're on
okay.
our public builder instance out there. So if you're facing a public builder instance, you have package install that's gonna pull down these latest packages. So all those core plans have been rebuilt.
Okay.
You may have to rebuild your specific portfolio, of applications. It really depends on what they depend on. In the Linux world, chances are your applications are either going to depend directly or transitively on libc, which have been updated because it had been such a long time since our last refresh. Essentially, everything got updated. So, which is going to affects a huge footprint of packages. Yep. Now, in the Windows world, it's actually a much more simpler world in terms of dependencies, because those kind of lower level dependencies, you don't really have those kind of like glibc, like all that just kind of comes with the operating system.
Yep.
And you get what you get. I mean, there are some C runtimes that we have, but like those C runtimes have not been updated. So chances are you're not going to have quite the dependency, spider web that you would have on the Linux side,
With Linux.
or at least
Okay.
or potential for that.
Cool. All right, let me move to the next slide. Okay.
I think I just basically covered this.
This here.
Yeah, this
Okay,
scenario.
great. I think that might be our last. Oh, we
Yes,
did.
yes,
Yep, all of this we covered.
yeah, yeah. This is all.
And we talked about how to fix it because that's how, like, we just have to make sure that we start at the lowest point or highest.
Exactly. The lowest point, right?
Lowest.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you start with the lowest point on your side, um, and
And
move
then
upward.
build from there.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So, what options? Do we have options where this is concerned, or
Um. Let's see. The core files refresh gets added. So okay. So yeah. So like, if you have like, if for some reason this breaks your world, um, the I mean, so you may have to make changes to your plans or to your library, depending on what was on what was updated. Some options that you have, you could pin to an earlier version. So like, if for some reason the newer version of OpenSSL just doesn't work for you, you want to use the older one, typically in plans you don't pin, you have for example core/OpenSSL. um, what you may need to do, and like, this wouldn't be a good long-term solution, but it might be something just to like get you through through the release that you're trying to do today, or something like that. You could pin to core/OpenSSL/ whatever version it was, um, that that worked. So
okay?
that's something that you could do. Again, it's probably not a good long-term solution, but it's the version that you were using anyways, and you would have used anyways if the release hadn't come out on Monday. And if you're in if you're in a bind and you just need to get your product out this week, then that's
That's the
certainly an
best
option that
bet.
you have. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So if you go through and it ends up being like a Charlie Foxtrot, which I mean it shouldn't be. It seems like from what you said, unless people have like unless there's like a super niche case of dependency hell. um they should be good, but if not, you can just pin to an earlier version as like fix, if you will.
Yeah, and the other thing I should mention too, like, if something just seems wrong, because I don't want to say that this is not a possibility. Fortunately, we haven't had it yet, but if for some reason, like, you go to do a build and you're getting build conflicts and it doesn't look like there's anything on your end, absolutely, bring that to our attention, because they're it's still early in the game. We haven't heard anything yet from customers, which is great, but
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that nothing, that no problems exist. So, um, definitely come to us if you have problems.
Great. And what's the best way to get in contact with someone who would know? Is it community Slack
I guess
or
so. So there is community Slack. Like, if you've got, if you're a paying customer and like this is like a Sev 1 type of incident, I would definitely encourage you to talk to your customer service, customer support people, because they can expedite that faster. And we're obviously going to give those higher priority than messages that we get on Slack. But Slack is certainly we'll see that eventually. There's GitHub. You can file a GitHub issue in our do it in the core plans repo, or that's another possibility.
okay, cool. And I yeah, I so Um, if you're not on community Slack, please get on community Slack because that's definitely a good place to go ahead and get some help. Just like Matt said, um, if you have an account rep, reach out to them. They'll be able to help during this. Also, oh, Damicus. Hey, Dan. Any other questions before we wrap it up for our second Habitat Office half hour? Let me check Slack, see if there are any questions in the Hab room or the Hab channel. It doesn't look like it. So everyone is that has tuned in should be super clear on event feeds and what's coming out with that, and also this core plans refresh. Oh, I have a question because I know we talked about this actually in our internal meeting. Why? So we're moving away from core plans. We're moving to habitat plans, correct? We're not calling them core anymore. Can we talk about that, or is that like something we can't talk about?
Well, that's more like a repo organization, right? So we have a base plan um, org, and we have a core plan repo, right? So I think when we talk about our packages refresh, we are just basically bundling them together, and we are calling it Hab package refresh. It's more
Okay.
towards nomenclature than towards anything which is changing in the functional aspect.
Okay. Okay, cool. So then those things, just so everybody knows, all of our viewers, if we refer to habitat plans, we're basically talking about the same thing. Yes, we know you we're gonna be wrapping up shortly. A question from who was this? Was it Romaine? Yep. What's the plan for next refreshes? Do we have any insight on this? I know you've gotta run soon, Matt. But do you have
Um,
any, or Raul?
no, I think we are gonna definitely start our next refresh process, but at the same time, we'll definitely communicate that in our Slack channels. Um, I think we don't have timelines as of yet, but when we do have a visibility on the timelines, right? So we will publish that. Um, but yeah, I mean, internally we will start working on it as soon as possible.
Great. Awesome. Sounds good. Well, thank you both so much for dropping some knowledge on us. And I'm sure our viewers got, excuse me, some real good takeaways from this. And we'll tune in next month for our Habitat Office Hours. We don't have a date yet, but stay tuned to these streams because we will update everyone once we do have a date for, or in a link for our next office hours session. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.